In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your AC condenser on your Acura MDX. Located behind the front bumper, let's get started. Before you do any AC work, it is recommended to bring the vehicle to get evacuated for AC freon at a professional shop. We're going to start by removing this cover, and the way we're going to do it, we're going to be prying up and sliding it out. So we're going to start by popping it out. Then we're going to move to the middle, pull up, out, pull up on this, and get it out of the way. Next, we're going to remove these two clips. I'm using a clip puller to get them off. Get the second one, and now we can just pry on this and get it out of the way. Next, we're going to remove these three clips. It's going to be this one, and this one, and we're going to be using the same tool. Now that we have those clips out of the way, we can simply grab this piece and get it out. And slide it out of the way. Now we're going to be removing these 7 clips across the front end of the vehicle. Using the same tool that we used previously, we're going to remove these 3 clips. Next, we're going to remove these 4 clips on this side. Here on the front left, using a 19mm socket, we're going to remove the tire. Remove the tire. And do the same on the other side. Next up, we're going to move on to the inner fender well. And we're going to be removing these 3 Phillips screw heads. In this case, I'm using an electric screwdriver. Moving to the opposite side of the vehicle, we're going to be on the inner fender well, removing these 3 Phillips head screws. Moving on to the bottom of the vehicle, we're going to have 2 10mm bolts and 2 clips right on the front of the right of the vehicle. With a 10mm socket, we're going to remove the 2 10mm. Next, we're going to remove the 2 clips. Moving on to the front of the vehicle, we're going to be removing these 4 10mm bolts. In our case, this one's missing. If you have it, there will be a 10mm bolt. Just remove them. Next, we have these 3 clips. Using the same tool, we're going to be removing those. Now we're going to move to this side of the vehicle. There's going to be 2 10mm bolts and 2 clips. We're going to be removing the 10mm bolts. Take them out. Now that we have our clips and bolts out of the way, we can simply just grab the corner of the bumper and pry it out. Do the same on the other side. After prying the corners of the bumper, you should simply grab it in the middle and pull it out. Just like that. We're going to be removing this bracket to give us more room to remove the radiator using a 10mm socket, break them loose. And take them out. Slide it out of the way and do the same on the other side. Now that we have the radiator brackets out of the way, we're gonna be moving this beam. So to do so, we're gonna be removing these 3 10mm bolts using a 10mm socket. And do the same on the other side. Now we're gonna be removing the other 10mm bolt that's right above the battery to remove the beam. And do the same on the other side. Next up, we're gonna be prying on the clips that holds this harness in place. And to do so, I have a small pry bar. We're gonna wedge it in between and pry it out. Next, we're gonna do the same on the next clip. Using the same tool, we're gonna pry on the cable and pull it out. Same goes for this one. Next, we have this one. Do the same thing. And move the harness out of the way. Next, we have one more of those clips right over this area, right next to the battery. We're gonna use the same tool and pry on the clip. Now that we have those bolts out, we're gonna be lifting up on this beam and moving it out of the way. One thing to note, make sure you put this in a secure location. This is the radiator cap because we're gonna be reusing it on the new one. Simply grab it and slide it out. We're gonna be removing the upper AC line, and for that we're gonna be using a 14mm wrench. Just pull a little bit to give you a little bit more room. You can just grab the condenser right here and just pull slightly. Now you can loosen it and remove this bolt. There it is. Now that we have the bolt out of the way, you want to get yourself a little bit of spray-on silicone. And you're going to wiggle the hose around to break that seal. Depending on the age of the vehicle, sometimes this will get stuck. So just be patient and work it out. One thing I like to do, being very careful, is grab yourself a small pry tool. In this case, it's just a small screwdriver. Wedge it in between and slowly work it out. Try to go up and bottom so you don't damage the hose. And now that we have it out of the way, we can move on to the bottom hose. Moving on to the lower hose for the AC line, we're gonna be using a 10mm socket and we're gonna be removing that 10mm bolt. Simply break it loose. Grab yourself some silicone and spray right on it, right on the line. This will help break that seal. You could wiggle the hose around. And to help it, just use a small pry bar, being very careful not to damage it. Like I mentioned, being really careful. You don't want to put too much pressure. Slide it out. The AC condenser is gonna have 4 10mm bolts on each corner. We're gonna start on the bottom by prying this down. This is the first one. Using a 10mm socket, we're gonna remove it. Take it out. Coming on the opposite side, we're gonna have another 10mm bolt. Simply take it out. Moving to the top of the radiator, we're gonna be removing the 10mm bolt using the 10mm socket. Remove the bolt. Now we're gonna remove the last bolt, holding the condenser in place using the same 10mm socket. Get it loose. and take it completely out. After we remove those 4 bolts holding the AC condenser in place, we simply grab it and slide it out. One thing to note is you want to be careful and you don't want to hit anything, especially with the radiator. You want to make sure you're not caught on anything. Slide it out. Being very careful not to damage. And here's the old one. Now we're ready to install the new one. But before we do, we want to make sure that we slide it into place without hitting any of the fins. These are very brittle and they will cause leaks if we do so. So let's get started. Slide it in place. Sometimes it helps if you grab the radiator and just move it back slightly to give you some room. Now we can install the top bolts that hold the condenser in place. Line it up with the holes. Reinstall the 10mm bolt. You can start it by hand. Snug it up. And we're gonna do the same on the other side. Moving to the bottom side, we're gonna reinstall the 10mm bolts that goes right here to hold the AC condenser in place. Line up the hole and start the bolt by hand. Snug it up. One thing to point out, these bolts bolt into plastic, so you don't want to crank on them way too hard. It will break it. And we're gonna do the same on the other side. Now we're ready to install the bottom line. And for that, we want to make sure the O-ring that goes on the line looks in good shape. In this case, it does, so we're gonna reuse it. Simply slide it in. Make sure it bottoms out. We're gonna reinstall the 10mm bolt that goes on this. And we're gonna snug it up. I don't recommend using any power tools on these lines. They are aluminum and they will bend. So just take your time and do it by hand. Now we get to torque the bolt to 7.2 foot-pounds. Now we can install the upper line. Like I mentioned previously, you want to make sure these O-rings look good. In this case, we're going to reuse them because they're in good shape. Line up the hose and slide it in place. Make sure you bottom it out. And now we're ready to install the bolt. Slide it in. This top bolt gets torqued down to 7.2 foot-pounds if you can get a torque wrench. In this case, we're gonna snug it up with a 10mm wrench. Now we grab this beam and move it closer so we can start plugging stuff in. Just like that. From this point, we can start plugging in the fans. Now we're ready to plug this in. Make sure you hear a click. Same goes for this one. Slide it in place and plug it in. Now we can move the hose that goes to the reservoir and click it into place. It simply slides in. Now we can grab the beam and slide it in place. Make sure you align the holes. Now we're gonna go ahead and start the 3 10mm bolts by hand. Snug them up. On the opposite side, we got the 3 other 10mm bolts, starting by hand. Now we can go ahead and snug them up. Now we can install the 10mm bolt that goes right here. Simply start it by hand and snug it up. Now we get to install the 10mm bolt that goes right over here, opposite side of the other side. And snug it up. Now we're ready to clip the harness back in place. Simply lighten up the holes and clip it on. Moving to the next one, clip it on. Clip the next one. Go to the next one and clip it in. Moving over to the clip that's next to the battery, we're just simply gonna slide it into place. And clip it on. Now we can torque down our bolts, and all of these get torqued down to 13 foot-pounds. Also remember the one that goes in the back of the bracket. The same goes for that one. The same goes for the bolts on this side. Remember, 13 foot-pounds. Remember the one that goes in the back of the bracket. Now we get to install the radiator brackets. Simply slide them in and line up the holes. Start your bolts by hand. Snug them. The radiator bracket gets torqued to 13 foot-pounds. Moving over to this side, we're gonna do the same thing. Simply slide it in place and line up the holes. Start your bolts by hand. Get them snugged. And now we torque them down to 13 foot-pounds. Now we're ready to install the bumper. We're gonna be sliding it on the top, making sure it goes on the bottom of the headlight on both sides. Gonna start in the middle, align the holes, and start putting all the clips on. Start by putting the center clip to hold the bumper in place. Install the clips, make sure the holes lined up. Install the other two. Moving to the side of the vehicle, what we're gonna do is we're gonna be clipping this onto this plastic bracket. Grab the bumper, slide it over. And clip it in. And we want to make sure we do the same on the other side. Moving on to the inner fender well, we're going to be putting the bolts that go over here. And for these, it's the ones that have the flat ends. Simply slide them in and start it by hand. Snug them up. Do the same on the second one. Start it by hand and snug it up. Do the same on this one. Start it by hand. And repeat this process on the other side. After you do the same thing on the opposite side of the fender, we're gonna be installing the bolts that go underneath and the clips. We're gonna start with this corner, grabbing the 10mm bolt that goes here, line it up, and start it by hand. Snug it up. Install the clip, make sure you line up the holes. And now install the 10mm bolt that goes right here. Start it by hand. And snug it up. Now we install this one. Start it by hand and snug it up. Next, we're gonna line up these holes and install the clip. Now install the 10mm bolt that goes here, line up the holes and start it by hand. Now you're ready to snug it up. Now we're ready to install these 3 clips. Make sure you lined up the holes and push them in. Now install this 10mm bolt. Same way, start it by hand. Snug it up. In our case, this one's broken. The bolt snapped in. If you have it, there's a 10mm bolt that goes there, just like the other 3 holes. In this case, we're gonna line up this one. Start it by hand and snug it up. Now we're ready to install this clip. Line it up, push it in place. Now install the 10mm, start it by hand, and snug it up. Now install this 10mm bolt. Once you have it in place, snug it up. Now we're gonna install this clip. Simply lighten up the hole and push it in place. Now we're gonna install the 10mm bolt that goes right here. Simply start it by hand and snug it up. Now we can install the tire back on. Start your lug nuts by hand. And snug them. Now we're gonna torque down our wheel to 80 foot-pounds in a star pattern. And do the same on the other side. Now we can install this piece, slide it in, find out the holes, and install the clips. Line up the hole, and install your clip. Line it, and push it in. Same for this one. Now we install the intake tube. Simply slide it in place, line up the holes, and install the clips. Now we can install this cover. Start in the middle, slide it under the latch, line it up, slide it into place. After you installed everything back up, you want to make sure you bring your vehicle to a local shop to get it refilled.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.